Hey guys, it's towniesimbuilds here, and welcome back to another Sims 4 bite-sized speed build. Now, as you guys can tell from the title, this is going to be a really weird build, and this is of course the Butcher Shop Nightclub. So you guys are probably thinking, Townie, what the heck is this? What is this really weird build and why is it called this? So originally, like I mentioned, I did want to kickstart the October spooky season off early. So I saw you guys voted, you guys were pretty on board with that. And I thought to kick off the spooky season, we would do something a little different. And for the very first time, I'm actually building in the world of 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏. And I truly hope that is the name of the world. I do get it confused with the world from Sims 3 Supernatural and also the one that came with the Sims 3 store. Anyways, I've actually never built something in The Sims 4 that was exclusively made for vampires. So if you guys haven't guessed it, this nightclub is of course for vampires. And you know, I had a weird and somewhat dark sense of humor. I thought it was interesting to have this sort of defunct butcher shop as the front facade. I was kind of getting the ideas of Sweeney Todd, if you guys are familiar with either the movie or the play. And as much as I would have loved to build something from that movie, it's pretty dark. It's pretty dark indeed, but I figured, you know, for vampires, you could either get blood from maybe a clinic, or in this case, we are in a butcher shop. It's a, you know, somewhat okay means of attaining plasma, if you will, so I thought that could be a little fun bit of lore behind this build. But anyways, you're seeing the build come to life, and this was a very interesting build that was inspired by a lot of different references. I was looking up smaller towns throughout the United States. Personally, growing up in New England, I've seen a lot of these brick buildings, and of course, bringing in that vampire stuff, bringing in the vampire pack itself, a lot of these objects are definitely older. I would say they are kind of indicative of the Victorian era, a little bit of the Industrial Revolution as well. So that was kind of the vibe I was going for, a pretty old defunct butcher shop. Right now, I am switching over to the night view. I'm kind of going back and forth because I am loving that night ambience in this world. Like I said, this is the first time I'm building in this world, so it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed especially the evening and the night view in this world, so definitely wanted to include some different lampposts. I do have the little lanterns from the cottage living pack, and I do make some really bizarre choices. I actually use the oven hood from the cottage living pack in order to create those awnings, because nothing was really fitting, so I thought that worked best. I do also use the debug garage doors. I was trying to create some kind of loading area for this butcher shop. I don't know how sensible it is, but it was a nice way to kind of make use of the space. And of course, we are using the Get to Work pack, which I honestly don't use too much anymore, but of course, this was originally a business, so you will see the very derelict, very abandoned storefront area. So obviously with the front done, this is what is left of the butcher shop itself. And honestly, this was very hard, you guys. I think the last time I've been to a butcher shop was probably a good, maybe I would want to say like 8 years ago. Obviously, I've seen butcher shops or meat sections in supermarkets, so it's similar, I guess, in terms of what the offerings are, what the work environment is like. But you know, guys, I wasn't going to haunt myself and look up actual spaces of a lot of more industrial butcher shops, because obviously things can get pretty, yeah, pretty intense. But yeah, I was trying to work off of memory. This is the storefront area, so we do have some larger refrigerated objects from the Get to Work pack. So I assume this could be where the different portions of meat could be sold. And I will make a little bit of a back area as well. So there will be a counter space towards the back, just below the different menu boards from the Get to Work pack and I think the Get Together pack. And it's kind of reminiscent of a deli. So you do have sort of an area to cut meat, slice meat, and possibly weigh portions as well. Obviously, guys, if you're seeing this right now, there is a ton of ivy, a lot of plant overgrowth, and unfortunately, I just didn't have broken windows. I wanted to have that effect of windows that were broken. And of course, you know, over the years, Mother Nature has seeped in. It was the effect I was going for, guys, but unfortunately I didn't have access to any broken windows in the game, but that was the best I could do. Of course, I am using more debug objects. I'm trying to board up that door. So if you guys haven't guessed it, the entrance to this nightclub is not going to be so conspicuous, if that makes sense. It's actually going to be towards the back, so I want to make sure that the front entrance is not accessible for your Sims. But anyways, I'm putting a lot of clutter in here. I found some dirty plates where the meats could have been on display. Lots of knives also from base game. I do think they are debug objects. And then I found this really weird little paper object. So I figured they could potentially be receipts that are just scattered everywhere. And of course, we did have some chairs from the get together pack as well. Anyways, like I said, we are working on the back entrance area. Of course, when this shop was functioning, I figured this door was probably specific to employees. It could be entering the break room space or part of the meat storage space, meat carving space, if you will. I know it doesn't sound so appealing when I say it like that, but I think you guys understand where I'm coming from. But like I said, I did want this to be a little bit more discreet. It's kind of this very kind of eerie, grungy space where if vampires know this area, they would definitely know where to look in this building in terms of how to get inside or where to wait outside to enter the club. So that was primarily what I was going for. I figured that human Sims would have no idea what this place really was, especially because when I do place a lot of the windows throughout this building, I actually use the get to work blind. So it shields out most of the light if you are looking into the building from the street. I don't know if any of that made sense, so definitely let me know. Again, I did want this to be a facade of this old abandoned butcher shop building with a more secret, more clandestine club for vampires, if you will. Now, going on to the club area itself, I would say this area is more or less renovated. You can see that there has been this sort of matte black paint all over the walls, and we do have some newer floorboards as well. I didn't want to make this so sleek. I did want sort of this underground, slightly punky feel, if that makes sense. And yeah, nightclubs, guys, unfortunately, I don't know too much about their space inside and what it's like. I'm just not a club person. I'm not a bar person. But I did try to take inspiration from another builder that you guys probably know. And that, of course, is the really amazing Devon Bumpkin, who actually does have a lot of nightclub experience, unlike myself. So going in, there is a sort of little waiting room area. There is what I would call a reception desk. Yeah, reception desks I wouldn't say exist in nightclubs, but it is sort of a front desk area. And from one of his builds, I remember that the nightclub he had, there was actually a sort of place to check in your belongings, like if you have extra coats or purses that you want in safekeeping, there is an area for that. So that was kind of the space I was trying to emulate. Anyways, I'm blabbing on. This is just a quick look at the bathroom itself. Fortunately, this was gender neutral. I did fit in 2 stalls using the partial walls. And yeah, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Most of the objects in here are a mixture of base game and also get to work as well. So we do use the hand sanitizer, we do use the paper towel dispenser, I'll call it, and we do have these really awesome pipes that I found from the get to work pack. So trying to drive home a more industrial theme, if that makes sense. Oh yeah, and then lighting. Lighting was a lot of fun in this build. Obviously, you know, trying to figure out lighting when you're building is really tricky because unless you have mods, there's not really a way to edit the color of the lighting itself. But if you guys have gone through base game, there is this really amazing set of what I presume to be studio or stage lights. And I do believe it's like a blue, red, and green tone that kind of overlap and give this a really interesting quality. So given that the space was very dark and underground, I honestly thought these lights were really fitting. So you're going to see them everywhere. You're going to see them everywhere. Also intertwined with the lights from the Get to Work pack. And those lights were also very fitting for this style as well. Not really sure what to call them, but you guys probably saw them. They are kind of circular and they have this little metal grate on top. So I thought they were fairly fitting. Anyways, you guys are, of course, seeing the main nightclub area take shape. So we do have the dance floor. I do believe it is a medium dance floor from the Get Together pack. And of course, we have the really awesome DJ booth towards the front as well. Now, this space was kind of hard. I really want to make sure that we had very interesting spaces for your Sims. So the space to the left of the dance floor is a smaller bar area, and there will also be a larger couch there for your Sims as well. Now, I will say there will be another floor. Obviously, there is a second floor to the abandoned butcher shop, so we will have more of a lounge space there. But of course, if you want to get down on the dance floor, if you want to get involved in the scene and the music, this is definitely the place to be. I do also make use out of these very interesting industrial metal beams, I would say. Unfortunately, I will admit this, you guys, I'm not sure how practical this layout was in terms of, how the space was when the butcher shop was functioning. But I'm thinking that this whole nightclub area here was where a lot of the butcher shop action, if you will, was taking place, where a lot of the meat was stored, possibly in a freezer that used to exist here. We do have a loading area, which has now been converted into a sitting area, as you guys can see. Very difficult to design. I actually had to delete the wall entirely in order to place down the graffiti and a lot of the wear and tear on the wall. But yeah, anyways, this space is just completely different from what it was when this place was functioning as a butcher shop. So I really wanted to make it unique. We do have a little sitting area towards the front right, if the camera was situated properly. And I do put in some very interesting decor elements from the Vampires pack. I really love this particular statue. It reminds me of Morticia Addams, which I thought was really cool. And I did use a lot of the, I believe it's the crow or raven skull in the glass jar. I thought those were really cool table accents. Anyways, like I said, we're moving up. This is going to be a very more relaxed lounge, I would say. There's not going to be a dance floor here. Originally, I was actually going to put more of a piano bar twist on this, but I thought because this was a nightclub, I didn't want to make it a lounge as well. Yeah, I don't really know what my reasoning was for that, but I thought the dance floor was going to be the main center stage, so I didn't want to detract from the primary attraction on the first floor. Hopefully that makes sense. But of course, we do bring back a lot of the same objects. Honestly, I'm loving those stage lights. I use them everywhere. And I go a little harder on the red tones at the bar. Vampires, blood, plasma, it's a little on the nose, but you know what? I was just going for it. I was going for the theme. Loving all those splashes of red. And of course, this lounge area, if you will, does have a much bigger bar space, just like you guys saw. I did get to use a lot more of those base game wine, spirit, nectar racks, if you will. Yeah, using the Sims lingo, trying to keep it family friendly. But oh my goodness, I loved these gargoyle statues. I don't believe I have ever used them in a build before, but again, very fitting to the theme of this space, and I definitely wanted to include those. I do use a lot of the graffiti from the Get Together pack as well. I really loved how this kind of painted white design really stands out, those white painted letters on the wall. So I do sort of an accent wall there, and there was also another one on the first floor as well, towards the area where the little bar was. So it's a little bit of a repetition, but I just really like the effect, especially with that whole, stage RGB lighting, if you will. I do go in and put in a few more details. I do use the little exit signs also from the Get to Work pack, again, just to make this space feel a little bit more believable. And the last space in this nightclub is a very small game room. I almost made this space exclusively for Don't Wake the Llama tables and also cards, but I do fit in the foosball table. And pretty simple, I would say. I do use more of the sort of rave posters, I would say, from the Get Together pack. And of course, more of those awesome pipes from the Get to Work pack. I did also find this very interesting chalkboard that I do tend to use a lot, but I do enjoy it. Perhaps somebody could be keeping track of their wins, if that makes sense. So I thought it was pretty fitting to the game room area. The last space is just this very, very small sitting area just outside of these two different rooms. So again, fairly straightforward. I do use, for the first time in a while actually, these Get to Work posters, which did have sort of a supernatural edge. I did like the designs, and they do feel somewhat vampiric. I do go in and add a few more details. I do use the sort of twiggy tree from the base game, and also the VIP, I think, nectar buckets. I'm trying to be really careful with my words here, but there they go. And of course, I almost forgot the music, but I do bring in those wall speakers that I do believe are either from base game or the Get Together pack. So hopefully there are some really nice tunes for your Sims everywhere. Going back to the outside now, we're almost done. I'm just adding a few more touches of ivy. I definitely didn't want to leave too many walls barren. And I do also go into debug and find these very interesting grass pieces. Normally I pull from cottage living, but I think these fit the world a little better. And of course, if you guys haven't seen, I use lots of these distress elements from the Vampires pack. So cracks, tears, you name it. It just really adds to the grunge and decay of the lot itself. The final details are just a few ventilation pieces, again, possibly paying homage to how this place was used before, and of course some gutters along the walls as well. Alright guys, and that is a wrap on the Butcher Shop Nightclub in the world of Forgotten Hollow. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I know this build was pretty out there, but I do think it was a really fun way to launch the spooky season. And of course, if you guys do have the Vampires pack, I hope this does add something very interesting to do in this particular world. Now, if you guys enjoy more builds like this, if you enjoy builds that are spooky and cater to the occult sims, definitely feel free to let me know. I love hearing all of your thoughts and feedback. Just like always, this lot is a no CC, no mod, limited pack build, and will be available on the Sims 4 gallery for download. I'll leave you guys now with the final cinematic shots of the build, along with the final lot specs as well. And as always, this has been 𝗪𝗛𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗚 signing off. Thank you so much for watching, guys.